back to it for any information that you learn as we're going through this session. So if you've attended our sessions in the past, this is going to be a little bit different because this is an opportunity for everyone to really share their experiences and lessons learned that they have discovered as we've been going through this unique online environment that we've been faced with over this past year. And we have actually done this before. We had our first Online Learning Professionals Forum back in May with great success. And the discussion, if we could have gone for a couple hours, it probably would have been extremely robust. But unfortunately, we all are busy people and only have about an hour to do so. So we have made the decision that we're going to start holding this quarterly because as we continue going on in this environment, we're going to continue learning and continue growing in what we can do online. So welcome everybody. I just want to introduce how this is going to work today. So this is not going to be a presentation. We're not going to be teaching you all. This is going to be a sharing experience. So this is an open discussion. You will be able to put out any questions that you have. And please, if you have experiences that others can share from, we want to open the floor up to you. So Ms. Hall and Mr. Rosenkrantz and I will be on hand to moderate the discussion and give you any kind of opportunities that you need if you want to share what you have learned. But this is really to share and grow from each other. And because of COVID, we haven't really had the opportunity to have any in-person forums. However, what COVID has taught us is that there is plenty of technology where we can do it from across the command. And today is definitely a demonstration of how many different people from how many different locations we can do that with. So the rules of engagement for how this is going to work. Basically, if you would like to talk, we really want to refrain from having everybody talk over one another. And we want to allow everyone the opportunity to speak their piece or ask their questions. So if you have something to say or you'd like to ask a question using speaker, if you look should be at the left-hand side of your screen, under everybody's names, you'll see a little smiley face. And if you hover over that and click on it, it'll allow you to select an icon. The first one that you see should be a raise your hand. So when you would like to say something, go ahead and click that icon and we'll open the floor to you to kind of voice any questions or concerns that you have. Additionally, if you have the opportunity or if you have the use of a microphone, please feel free to use it. So you don't have to do everything in chat. However, if you don't have a microphone, please feel free to put your question in the chat box. On here we have we're going to use the Mentimeter application. However, change that up a little bit, and we're just going to go ahead and put questions in the chat so that everybody can see them. So this is a completely safe and open forum. So please don't feel embarrassed about questions. There are no silly questions here. Everybody is learning from one another. So today, your online learning team, we will be facilitating this, though this is an open discussion. So you will have us on hand as far as troubleshooting and adding to the discussion, and also providing some insight and expertise for what we've experienced as well. So I am Monica Garcia. I am the Faculty Development Online Learning Course Director, and I oversee our online learning courses in faculty development, such as our Instructor Developer of Online Learning course and our Analysis of Learning course. I also assist many across the command in Blackboard. I am the, I guess you could say, unofficial subject matter expert in the Blackboard learning management system. And I also have several years of experience in developing courses in the online environment, in the AETC environment. So if you have questions about that and what we've experienced, please feel free to ask them. This is a great opportunity to do so. My outstanding dream team is Mr. Frank Rosenkrantz and Ms. Brittany Hall. So they are more than instructors. They are my co-captains of the online learning team, and they are themselves online learning specialists with a plethora of knowledge and experience in online facilitation as well as development. So they will be on hand to answer any questions. You may see them in the chat as well if you're throwing questions out there. So let's get this started and rolling. So the first question that I want to throw out there, and please feel free whether you want to share it on the microphone or you want to share it in the chat, is how has COVID changed the way that you train? And it's going to be quiet because it's going to be that uncomfortable silence while everyone has a chance to answer. I know I have seen a lot where training has changed. We've had to keep the training pipeline going. So how has this environment changed the way that you view training, changed the way that you're approaching training, changing the way that you're delivering training? What have been some changes that you have made and possibly going to keep? We have some virtual changes, change to Blackboard and or WebEx. So WebEx, that's the first time I've seen that platform. Transitioned an in-resident capstone course to Blackboard. I moved to more online courses via Canvas. Okay, so Canvas is being used mostly for your 7-level folks. Having to convert a primary residential course to online in a very short time, yes. So George brings up a good point. I know for faculty development, one of the changes that we made is we moved our basic instructor course to online. We moved the course, George, what would you say? Was it 2 weeks that we transitioned BIC to the online environment? So yes, so BIC for us changed. We had to find a way to ensure that we could continue facilitating BIC, and we moved it from everything in resident and we transitioned to where it is 100% online. All of our students are actually facilitating their own presentations and doing them online. And even their discussions and activities are now housed in Blackboard. So it was a complete transition and a great learning experience and team collaboration. So Brenda says that the course was already online, so it didn't change much. However, it changed for the students being able to complete the activities and discussions. Can you elaborate on how that changed for the students? Oh, George also says, yes, we converted our MTL course to hybrid, 2 weeks online during quarantine to accomplish knowledge objectives, and then 2 residential for all performance objectives. So we have seen, I know here at Keesler, where in order to accommodate ROM, that we have utilized the 2 weeks as an opportunity for online learning with our knowledge objectives, and then all of the performance objectives are accomplished after that 2-week quarantine period. So I've kind of heard that a lot of other courses across the command are doing this similar. Anyone else kind of done something like that? So Sarah asks, is everybody primarily using synchronous learning with Canvas or Blackboard? So for us in faculty development, our synchronous portion, we are primarily using Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, but that's because that is part of our Blackboard license, and so it makes it easy to utilize. We're using DCS today primarily because it is accessible for those who are not teleworking and are on the AFNet, because Collaborate tends to be a little bit wonky on the AFNet. It's kind of fickle. So sometimes it'll work, it's very slow, the bandwidth doesn't really support Collaborate. So DCS is a great option for if you do require AFNet usage. Also, Collaborate is approved for, as you can see at the top, it is approved for unclassified FOUO and PII data. So I had asked Brenda to kind of elaborate on how COVID has changed to how students are being able to complete activities and discussions. And she says that their assignments are intended to generate conversation regarding effective leadership. In the work environment, they were able to more easily network with others. It is more formal trying to do this through email, and I can understand that. So Stephen, you said that DCS has been kind of difficult, so you've had limited success to using DCS with bandwidth issues? It can be a bit fickle. Unfortunately, the AFNet as a whole, synchronous sessions are kind of difficult. I want to kind of note, so Dawn talks about how they are engaging Discord and WebEx. So if you haven't seen, WebEx can be utilized on the AFNet. Discord is not accessible on the AFNet, so that is something to be to consider. Blackboard, unfortunately, and Stephen makes note of this, is not approved for FOUO. So if you do have FOUO content, you are limited pretty much to Mill University at this point. However, as the new enterprise blended learning solution is going to get started here next year, that will be on a server that is approved up to IL4, I believe, or IL5, which will be able to accommodate any content that is FOUO. And if anyone has questions about MillSuite, Dr. Boilo, who joined our flight a couple months ago at the beginning of this year, actually has a lot of experience. He developed some courses for the Army in MillSuite. So I'm really excited to tap into his skill set as far as developing courses utilizing that platform. Oh, okay. So Steven says that JKO has a V class, which has been approved for FOUO. I don't know much about that, so that is something that I'm going to have to learn more about. George also mentions that in faculty development here at Keesler, we are currently service testing our tech writer and training supervisor courses for online delivery. What I love about testing courses that were previously in resident and kind of testing them out online is there have been a lot of avenues for innovative solutions where you can start looking at the different ways that you can accomplish a lot of these assignments. And I know that like in Training Soup, they've figured out how to load like certain simulators that were previously just housed on the server, and now they can house them in Blackboard. They're utilizing groups in certain assignments. It's made grading a lot easier. So it really has, I wouldn't say forced us, but I would say facilitated the opportunity for learning. How's that sound? Okay, I love all of this stuff in the chat. If you are not watching the chat, this is awesome. Okay, so lots of changes that are going on in the way we train. So let's look at the next question. What have you learned or improved on in the last few months from COVID? Like, what has COVID forced you to learn more? Like I mentioned in faculty development, it's really facilitated an opportunity for us to look at how we approach different assessments differently. So what has this environment afforded you an opportunity for learning more about that you never anticipated? Has there been anything that you made improvements on that you might not have thought about? I know we talk about the challenges, but what have the challenges forced you? Methods of virtual collaboration, yes. Oh, so Mike Raff, yes, you have really been able to capitalize on the Blackboard's ability to use the parent-child courses for facilitating multiple courses at one time with, I would say, a plethora of students. Can you elaborate on that? So also Brenda says, be more creative to get organic insights. And they added Mentimeter activities after you saw it here. Yay, I love that we gave you some ideas for how to use different activities. Yes, Paul, absolutely. So Blackboard Collaborate has the capability for breakout groups, and this allows students to discuss issues in small groups. Zoom has that ability. If you're using CVR Teams, oh my goodness, CVR Teams is so prime for that, for using breakout groups. And let me tell you about collaboration. So I'm working on a project with some folks at AETC utilizing CVR Teams, and I have seen the capability that Teams can give for working in small groups. And I mean, that's even in small groups, you can do video chat, you can share documents. So if you have not capitalized on that software yet, definitely look into Teams. So we also have, so Brittany says, how important training is for instructors on how to use all of the different platforms. If you have any neat training aids, please share. Yes, I love sharing of information. Adobe Connect has small group capability as well. Yes. So does WebEx. I think pretty much every virtual conferencing, even DCS has capability for breakout groups, by the way. So Don Alexander puts ensuring backend support for the Wi-Fi and server hosting needs with mobile device management. So expanding capability, ensuring sustainment is solid. Yes, 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 yes. So definitely COVID has kind of showcased how important our needs are for servers and bandwidth and expanding our capability. So that is definitely a hot button, and I know that leadership is seeing that. So that is something that has really opened the door for our capabilities, and COVID has really been a great, I wouldn't say it's driver. There we go. COVID has been a great driver for that. Yes, Steve, the CVR Teams does connect to Teams on the AFNet. Are you talking about the Air Force Teams? So the two are totally separate. However, you can connect to CVR Teams, and the Air Force does have an Air Force version of Teams. So if you're looking to use Teams on the AFNet, you might look into the Air Force version of Teams, because I do know that the Air Force version of Teams is approved up to IL4. So Michael kind of expanded on his use of the parent-child courses in Blackboard, and I'm probably going to have him on as one of our webinars on how to kind of give a little bit of a lesson on how to utilize that here in the future. So he says for his courses that each week they start a class of 75 to 95 students, and they break it up into separate child classes of about 25 students and group it into a parent course. This allows for each instructor, and once it is done in the parent course, it populates to the child courses. That is fantastic because it saves, it's like a waterfall effect, and so it is less work in having to go into multiple courses for to make individual changes. So Mike has done some amazing work with the ITF course, and that's why I really want him to come on, and we'll really focus on doing kind of a course tour, so to speak, so that maybe he can show you guys how he administrates that. Brittany says that her kid's teacher need to be able to do that. Too many students on Google Meet. Small class size really does help students get that one-on-one time with the instructor. Small group work is important as well. You haven't had any luck. So Stevie, you haven't had any luck using Teams? Hmm. Yeah, and I think for you, I mean, being Intel, because you were kind of you're forced to be on the AFNet, and because of the classification of your content, I believe that, I mean, you're kind of restricted to only being able to use stuff on the AFNet, which the bandwidth doesn't always support the use of certain functions, which is something we've definitely experienced. We've learned a lot from that in faculty development. I mean, we started EIDL back in 2016. We started using DCS. We were only on the AFNet, and we came up against so many different issues with that. Unfortunately, our solution has been using the LWS. However, I have found that DCS is probably the best platform that I've used on the AFNet. However, I have done some video conferencing using CVR on the AFNet. So the problem with that is I don't know that CVR is approved for FOUO. So that might be something we need to look into further. So if someone knows a little bit more about the classification level that CVR is, I can't remember off the top of my head. I could do some research, but if you have that knowledge, please share. So lots of lessons learned. Does anyone else have anything that they've learned over the last few months? So Brittany put some great information in here. So Brittany puts, ultimately, teaching online combines all of the usual challenges of designing and leading courses with the issues particular to a digital environment. So yes, it's an excellent opportunity to refine your teaching practice in general. Moving a course online challenges you to consider exactly why you do what you do, from course goals to discussion questions to assignments and tests. In that process, you'll likely find you need to do things differently online. You may even conclude that your face-to-face teaching needs an overhaul too. Either way, the experience should spur you to reflect critically about teaching, and that's never a bad thing. Absolutely. I agree with all of that. I have found that I teach in the classroom differently than I used to ever since I've started teaching online. So Stephen, you ask, has CVR approval been extended beyond the end of September? Yes, it's been extended through December. So that there has been an official guidance, policy guidance put out that CVR has been extended through December. From what I've seen, the hope is that after December, it'll merge with the Office 365 platform that we have through the Air Force. All right, so Don puts that if at home, and he has been for 6 months, CVR on the phone is very good and unclass only as you see it. You can have your laptop on VPN and do both at the same time. I have loved Teams for that because you can literally call people through Teams. I've been able to join meetings from my phone. I've been able to, I've actually made phone calls to people through Teams from my phone. And that way you're not having to share your phone number. I like that you can do chat from your phone through Teams. So there's a lot of great functions that I've been able to capitalize on through CVR. And for me, it's been a fabulous tool. And Brenda says, well said. Okay, so let's go to our next question. What are some areas that you still want to learn more about? So we are in our online learning team and faculty development is always looking for ways that we can share best practices and share lessons learned and find ways that we can, or even topics that we can create for future webinars. We're always looking for more. We're looking for people who want to teach them as well. We always are looking for guest speakers. We only have so many ideas. So we're always looking for ideas and ways that we can improve. For example, we are in the process of creating a course called Online Training Development that actually focuses on the hands-on development of an online course. So at the end, you'll be able to actually come away with a fully developed learning module and a learning management system, and also understand how to evaluate that as well. Oh, so it looks like it kicked Frank and Brittany out. It happens. Sometimes DCS, one of the problems that it does have, if you have experience that, is it can time out. So just be aware. Okay, Frank is back. So what are some areas that you still want to learn more about? Ah, that's a good question, Sarah. Okay, so let's do a tool list. Sarah wants to know which tools different organizations use to develop online training as well as the learning management systems that they're using. So she says that they are standing up in ITU and trying to hammer down their purchases. So Sarah, I'll just give you what faculty development is using while I give an opportunity to others to throw their answers in the chat. So we use Blackboard to house our content. We also use Blackboard as a facilitation tool for our synchronous sessions. We have Camtasia that we utilize for some of our video editing. We also have a YouTube channel. The other thing that I have discovered, unfortunately, YouTube is not accessible on the AFNet right now. So for those of you that are restricted to the AFNet, I have discovered that Vimeo is a great tool. I'm going to put that in the chat. Vimeo is a video platform that it's similar to YouTube. It doesn't have as many options out there for videos, but it is a great tool. If you do like a paid for subscription, it gives you more storage each week. So your free version it'll still allow you to upload videos. It just you have a limited number of megabytes that you can load each week, but at the beginning of each week it'll refresh it. But it can basically store as much as you want on there, but it is accessible on the AFNet. The other thing that I discovered is if you are not familiar with DVIDs, which is DVIDS, if you have any like Department of Defense related content, so if you have anything that is official, like military wise or even government, DVIDs is a great tool to use. I actually had a video that used to be housed on YouTube, and that we linked using an Edpuzzle, and discovered my last class that we had several students who couldn't access it from their work location. So I found the video on DVIDs. DVIDs also allows you to download those videos. So I downloaded the video. Now I've uploaded it to Edpuzzle, and I'm able to have those learners who are on the AFNet be able to access it. Other tools that we are using, we like to use Canva, which is not to be confused with Canvas. Canva is a great graphics generator, and we like to use that for flyers. We create our slides with it. We do a lot of stuff with Canva. Let's see, what else do we use? We use Pixton. Brittany did a great Web 2.0 tools. Let me see if I can pull it up on our Vimeo account. But a couple months ago, Brittany did a great lesson on Web 2.0 tools that talked about a bunch of tools that you could utilize. Also, we have I'll show you the link here at the end, but we have our Online Learning Resource Center where we have a section just devoted to Web 2.0 tools. So let me find a link to video, and I'll share that. There is the video to her Web 2.0 tools webinar that we did back in May, and she shares a lot of great tools. Kahoot, yes, because we're competitive, and Kahoot is super fun. I even had in my last grad class, I had a instructor who created a Kahoot quiz, and everybody had to go in, and then he kind of showcased who was on the podium, like who got the top score. So you don't even need to do it live. You can do it where you just send the students to where the questions are, and they can go and answer them. So it's really fun. So Don Alexander says that it's not for all, but Apple Classroom on iPads. Because ITF trains over 4.2 thousand a year. They develop and load iPads with content for new classes, and the platform allows them to expand options for learning by providing links and documents. And that's a fantastic idea. I think that, so from what I understand, Moodle will be our new enterprise blended learning solution that we'll be able to utilize, and I believe that it does have the ability to kind of load content like that. They're moving ADLS over to that platform as well for that reason. I do know that there is a Google Classroom that a lot of K through 12 courses use, and so that's another option for you too. I do, well, okay, so there's some tentative dates for Blackboard to Moodle. I do know that ADLS runs out in December, so they should begin transitioning here. I think 1 September was kind of the point for ADLS to start transitioning, so they're going to go first. the Blackboard contract has been extended through June of 2021. And they have said in the last meeting that they're supposed to start giving administrators access to Moodle to start learning it. However, the actual date when everything is supposed to go active could be May 2021. So, but the in-between dates are all to be determined. So the answer is sort of. And Paul, I have the slide presentation from the last EBLS meeting. I can send it to you if you would like. It has some of those dates and some of that information. I will do that. Yes, so Moodle is a very powerful LMS. There's a lot that you can do with it. I think the 333rd, you have some courses in Moodle. Am I correct? I want to say that you guys were one of the squadrons that did have a course or two in Moodle. But 338th does have it. Yes. Is there anyone here who is familiar with Moodle that can give us a little more background? I know basically from the surface of what I've done research on regarding Moodle. There are a lot of things you can do in there, but I haven't fully explored it. Paul, you can do a free account, like it gives you 45 days to test out the platform. It's like if you just Google Moodle, it's Moodle Cloud, and if you do that, you can create like a temporary website that allows you to test out the platform. But as far as whether they're issuing Moodle accounts right now, they're not. I think they're still waiting to, that's going to be part of that transition. Stephen says, does Moodle have anything similar to Blackboard Collaborate? It is my understanding that for synchronous capability, they're going to be utilizing, yes. However, I believe that also people who are in Collaborate, Teams integrates with Moodle, Zoom integrates with Moodle. I want to say that WebEx also integrates with Moodle. So Sarah says there's a lot to choose from. Yes, there's a crazy amount to choose from. Let me just tell you, there are so many tools out there. Because we currently only have Canvas, AWS, and PowerPoint. You have a YouTube channel, but we had some security concerns. Look into Vimeo. There are some paid-for platforms. I know Panopto is one of them. Let me see if I can Panopto. That's a paid-for platform that I've seen some universities. It was one that we were introduced to when we went to the Learning Solutions Conference a couple years ago. And they mentioned that they are a secure video platform site. Also, you have MillSuite with MillTube. And so unlike YouTube, where you can search out, like you can essentially Google for a topic and you find all of these videos, MillTube is not as, doesn't have as many options or content out there, so you really have to just utilize it as your own platform for housing videos. But it is an option if you're looking for something to house videos that have FOUO content. I am a Vimeo fan, just saying. So there's a lot of options. Unlike YouTube though, Vimeo does not do the automated like closed captioning. There is a site called otter.oi, 'AI'. where if you upload your video, it'll automatically create a transcription for you. Lots of great information. Anyone have any other tools that they're using? Oh, I will share. So I have also been working on a project with A3Q Special Missions. I think my job title should be Special Projects. I feel like that's what I do all the time. I have been working on a project with A3Q Special Missions that is a course where it has allowed me to use Articulate 360. If you have not experienced Articulate 360, let me tell you, that thing is phenomenal. So part of that, you have Rise 360, which allows you to create kind of almost like CBTs essentially, but it's content utilized that's housed within your browser. And you don't need to download anything, and that is accessible on the AFNet. Then you have Storyline, which is an app that you would have to download, but it is super powerful. It's like PowerPoint on steroids. But they do have part of that program where you can interface with PowerPoint, and you can, it allows you to create slides in PowerPoint, and then you transfer them to Storyline, and then you can insert your triggers, which is where it'll link you to you know, different things like your layers and making things automated, linking to external links. If you want to see an example of something I created using Storyline, I can send you the link to the Review 360, which is another part of Articulate 360. It's called Review 360. So if you're creating a project for somebody, then you can send it to who you're creating it for, and then they can review the final product, and you can then show what it looks like when it's done, and if they don't like it, then you can go back and you can fix whatever it is on the back end. So Storyline, I don't know that it's approved for IL4, but it is all it is it's a course authoring, or it's a content authoring tool. So basically what it does is it just allows you to create your content, and where your IL4 is going to come in is how you house it. So what server that you host it on. So your Storyline files can be downloaded as HTML, they can be downloaded as video, they can be downloaded as SCORM. So say if you download it as a SCORM file, then if you can upload it into Moodle, you can upload it into even probably MillSuite, any platform that will has the capability to utilize SCORM. You can utilize it. So that kind of stuff is a little bit above my knowledge and knowledge level, because then you're getting into really computery stuff, and that is knowing what IL4 is and equating it to FOUO is about the extent of my computer savviness. I could probably defer to our CTO, who I could probably get more questions on specifically for you if you would like. I'll see if I can get my Review 360 up, and I'll put the link in here for what that looks like. But yes, so Captivate and Storyline are very similar. From what I don't have as much experience with Captivate, to answer your question, Sarah. I do know that Captivate, because it's an Adobe product, is a fan favorite in our ITUs. I believe that AFCETA is purchasing Captivate license for content creation for their for assistance with development of CDCs. It is just a larger, a steeper learning curve than than Storyline. I actually did I can send that to you too. I did a presentation for when I was at Purdue on all of the different course authoring tools, because one of the requirements for that program is an e-learning course where you actually build e-learning. So, your e-learning, when we look at e-learning versus online learning, so e-learning is typically like your CBTs, whereas if we're talking about instructor-led learning, that's more associated with your learning management systems. But I can send you that presentation on the research that I did with that. I also have a bunch of Storyline resources if that's something you're interested in. I will definitely get that to you. And Brenda, I will send you the link to what I created with Storyline as well. But yes, yeah, great conversation, because a lot of people do have questions about the different course authoring tools. As I said, I'm not as familiar with Captivate. I do know that the capability between Captivate and Storyline are often compared quite a bit. I actually do have an article that was put out by eLearning Industry that compares the two side by side. So if that's something that you're looking at, which you're trying to determine which one to purchase, I can send that as well. I'll see if I can pull that up right now, actually. So lots of great conversation. Does anyone else have any, while I'm looking for this stuff, does anyone else have any cool tools that you've utilized? This is fantastic conversation. Any other lessons learned or things that you want to share? We're nearing the end of our time, actually. This has been a really great conversation, and this is why I like having these types of forums, is because you learn a lot about not just tools, but different practices, things that people are doing. The great Respondus question. So Joanna Jackson asks about, has anybody used Respondus? So if you are not familiar with what Respondus is a browser lockdown software that if you are trying to do, basically it's a mitigation tool for test compromise. And so if you are looking to do the facilitation of formal testing within the learning management system, Respondus will lock down the browser so students can't go and Google the answers. However, and there is an LTI within Blackboard that does allow us to incorporate it into our courses, but to actually use it, you would have to purchase the license. So, so you said you had to download a link. Yeah, if you want to use it, you have to download it. And yeah, Mark mentions it can be really expensive. Let me find. I just found my a link to what I created for. So this stuff that I created is, I created modules on the State Department. So no, so no, Joanna, the Air Force did not pay for the Respondus license. I think that might be something. So The AETC Blackboard is shared among several different agencies. That's shared with basically technical training. The Air Force Academy is on the AETC license. So there are a lot of tools that you might see that have been paid for by the Academy that they use. Also, the U.S. Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine, they utilize it as well. So if you see tools that are integrated, it could be something that a specific agency that's housed on that platform paid for. So this is Storyline. If I can find that presentation I did on the different learning course offering software. The Storyline is really powerful because you can, you can integrate layers, you can make things very animated. So if you're seeing things where when you're doing a CBT and you click on a picture and it opens up in another window, Articulate 360 also has the ability to have like a photo library. You have where you can integrate people. So those are different things. So Donna Alexander puts, one area we ran into this year as a lesson learned is that any government system, for example, AETC, LWS, has peer-to-peer blocked for DCEF. So for most, not an issue, but for certain apps that allow students to collaborate and allow instructor control, need this. We had to work through AETC times 3 months to get ours opened up, and it makes network security people's heads spin. Yes, so that is something that we saw too, and I was surprised it was on the LWS because, we're looking for collaboration, but this is definitely something where it's really difficult. So also, for some of these software programs, like Articulate 360 is definitely one of them. If it has something where it's, like he mentioned, peer-to-peer review, where you're kind of like team collaboration, or if it allows you to access things from a cloud, that is blocked on the AFNet. And it is really frustrating because some of the software that you want to purchase has all of these great features, but a lot of them you can't use because it's blocked on your, when you have it loaded. So he puts, you need to make sure you identify your requirement up front, that your requirement is commercial Wi-Fi network equivalent. And are you talking about this for your students, or are you talking about when you're trying to get software? Students. Okay, so good point. So that is definitely something that you want to identify. So if you have a requirement in your course where certain stuff is not accessible on the AFNet, or if you have a assignment that requires your students to access certain things that they cannot do from the AFNet, make sure you put that in your syllabus. And that is one thing that we have instituted with all of our online courses. We send out a syllabus a week ahead of time. We send out a welcome letter and we send out a syllabus. So if you are using, like he mentions, peer-to-peer types of content, I know they use Discord, which is a program, I believe it's an app that you can utilize, and I think you can access it from the web, and it is a lot of peer-to-peer contact that is not accessible on the AFNet, and if it's a requirement for your assignments, so if you're using social media, you want to make sure that you identify that up front in a syllabus or in some sort of student agreement so that students understand what their requirements are. Yeah, great note. So if you are looking for you're just looking to see what some authoring tools are, here's a presentation I did on different authoring tools. That is a link to the Canva presentation. So if you're trying to access on the AFNet, you may not be able to, and I can send you the PowerPoint. All right, so Brenda she started doing an open house where she has her online class open a day before class starts so people can check connectivity, etc. And it really reduces the day one headaches. Oh, it opens on the AFNet? Sweet. Okay. And we do this too. I usually make sure that my class is open at least a couple days before the official class. And you're right, Brenda. It definitely reduces the headaches because if people can't access, they're not stressing about not being able to access the content on day one when assignments are due. It really helps with some of those areas. So we are at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. So this forum was scheduled to last an hour. If you are looking to learn more about online course development, how to look at different options for facilitating your course, if you're just looking for basic instructional design or ISD, we do offer 3 online courses. Analysis of learning is really that front end. It takes you down to the objective level and helps you analyze your course based on the needs of the objectives. Your IDLE is focused on the instruction and facilitation and development of online courses, transitioning from the existing present method of delivery, which is typically your in-classroom, and how to transition them to the online environment. And then finally, AISD is your basic applications and instructional systems development. You look at learning analysis, objective analysis, task analysis, and then breaking them down and going through the ADDIE process. And George put out that we will put out when we are ready to start the online training development course, and that is on the horizon. We are quickly developing that, and so that will be added to our online course catalog here in the very near future. And finally, if you are looking for resources, we have our online learning, faculty development, learning innovation resource center, and a lot of the resources that we've talked about are out on this page. It is a Google site. There are some things that are not available to on the AFNet because they are linked to Google Drive. However, we do have several resources on there that you can access while on the AFNet. And you can actually locate that if you go to the Keesler website and look up units, and it will direct you to our online learning. So as always, you can also contact us directly. You can reach out to either myself or Mr. Rosenkrantz or Ms. Hall, and we'll be happy to share any information that you have. I want to thank you all. This has been a really great discussion and conversation that it was what I was hoping for. So for all of you that participated in the chat, I really want to thank you. If you're just here to listen in and get some information, I hope you had some great takeaways on what other people are doing. I will be recording this, and I will send the recording out to everybody that registered for the session in a follow-up email. So thank you, everyone. We really enjoyed having you and hearing your insights, and be looking for another forum here in the next few months. Thank you all. Bye.